Hey everyone! Today, I'm bringing you a spine-chilling New Year's Eve hide-and-seek stubbornly. Let's dive right in. During the New Year holiday, Grandma Callaway, who'd been bedridden for months, suddenly rallied. Color flooded back into her cheeks. And she insisted with more energy than any of us had seen in weeks that the whole family play hide and seek together. We all went along with it? Of course we did. We wanted to make her happy. To let her enjoy herself while she still could. But Grandma was adamant about one thing. She wanted to be it, the one who hunted. He found you. Every time her raspy voice echoed through the house. It was followed by a relative's piercing scream. My little brother, River Abbott, and I thought it was thrilling. We exchanged an excited glance, grinning at each other in the dark. But we've been crammed inside the rice bin in the kitchen for so long that our eyelids were starting to droop. And still Grandma hadn't found us. Maybe the rice bin is too hard to find, I whispered. Should we move somewhere else? I was just lifting the lid, ready to climb out with River when a voice I couldn't quite place yet, somehow deeply familiar, rang out in the empty kitchen. The kitchen. God is standing watch tonight. That filthy thing out there doesn't dare come in here. You two foolish children, get back in that rice bin and stay hidden. Aunt Lorraine Callaway was the first one Grandma found. She'd been hiding in the east room. Then Uncle Neil Preston in the west room. But after each of their screams, the house, which had been so warm and noisy just minutes ago, went dead silent. River started squirt coming toward the edge of the bin. Hope Abbott, there's a whole house full of people out there. How come it's so quiet? River and I had a mother and a father. Technically, but they dumped us at Grandma's house in the countryside. Like we were orphans. And none of our relatives wanted anything to do with us. Only Grandma loved us, truly loved us. Whenever she got her hands on anything good to eat, she'd hide it away in the back of the cupboard. Let it rot before she'd touch a bite herself, saving every last morsel for the two of us. So even if that voice in the kitchen wasn't just my imagination, I refused to believe Grandma would ever hurt us. Out in the courtyard, Grandma's voice ground through the air again, low and grating like a millstone. Turning. 5 more. Just 5 more to go. Grandma's been searching so hard. Where are you all hiding? Bridget Callaway's sweet voice rang out from somewhere in the house. Grandma, I'll come out on my own so you don't have to tire yourself. Grandma let out a strange laughing at the sight of Bridget walking out to show her devotion. Good girl. The next instant, Bridget released a scream so shrill and agonized it didn't sound human. You're not Grandma. River and I stared at each other wide-eyed with terror. This was the old woman who had raised us since we were babies. She wasn't Grandma then. Who was she? We clung to each other in the darkness of the bin. River's small body trembled against mine. Oh, Bridget went out on her own. Grandma didn't even catch her. So why did she scream like that? My mind was a tangle of static. I couldn't form a single coherent thought. Then that mysterious voice spoke again, answering River's question for me. You two are lucky. You have more fortune than sense. You climbed into this bin right when that thing started hunting for Substitute's kitchen. God is on duty tonight. That filthy creature won't dare set foot in the kitchen. And the 5 grains are sacred things of heaven and earth. A natural barrier that purifies and wards off evil. As long as you stay inside this rice bin, she won't be able to smell you. Not for a while. This time even River heard it clearly. Hope, who's talking? I clamped my hand over his mouth and pulled him back down into a crouch inside the bin. But his foot slipped and he landed hard on the bottom, with a dull thud that echoed off the ceramic walls. The sound of slippers shuffling across the ground drifted closer. Closer. My heart hammered so violently I could feel it in my throat. Grandma's face appeared at the kitchen width. She peered in at us and let out a low, rattling laugh. Found you. I slapped both hands over our mouths, one on mine, one on River's, and shoved our screams back down our throats. Silence, absolute suffocating silence. Then Grandma let out a long disappointed sigh. Oh, just a mouse. Before River and I could even exhale, something heavy slammed into the ground outside. The next moment, Grandma let out a pained groan. Oh, my aching back. When you get old, you can't even pick yourself up off the ground. River's clear eyes brimmed with tears. He pulled my hand down and mouthed silently. It's Grandma. Thinking of the grandmother who had raised us. Who had been our whole world since we were small. 2 hot lines of tears streaked down my own face. If belief alone could reshape reality. I wished more than anything that this was a dream. Or some terrible prank. But the stench of dead rats clinging to her body wouldn't fade. It forced me to believe the mysterious voice. Something was truly wrong with her. When neither of us moved, Grandma's voice turned shrill. River, I've doted on you too for all these years. And you won't even come out to help your grandmother up. Thank goodness I held on until today and was still testing you. I almost went soft and left the old house and all the land to you too. You've truly disappointed me. Before we could hide behind the excuse of the game. Pretending we were just playing along with hide and seek. But now that she'd called us out by name. River and I were squirming like we were sitting on hot coals. Just then, Aunt Deirdre Callaway's gloating voice drifted in from the courtyard. Mom, if you want to test the children, just test them. No need to scare everyone half to death on a holiday. I've always told you, Hope and her brother are just like their mother. Ungrateful little ingrates. Every last one of them. Just say the word. And tomorrow I'll marry Hope. Off to the village chief's idiot son for a bride price. Moment. Deirdre's words landed. The same flash of panic shot through both my eyes and River's. If this really was Grandma testing our devotion. Then after Deirdre's poisonous meddling. We might lose our last protector in this world. Our hearts hammered like war drums. Our palms were slick with Deirdre was still running her mouth. When you really can't move anymore. It'll be our family taking care of you. But before she could finish. Another scream tore through the night. Grandma let out that strange low chuckle again. 3 left? Just 3 more. My heart dropped like a stone. Now it was only Uncle Garrett, Callaway, River and me. So that was her goal all along. To drag every last one of us out. I didn't understand. Why would Grandma do this to her own flesh and blood? Bridget's final hysterical scream kept circling through my mind. You're not Grandma. If the old woman outside truly wasn't our grandmother, then the real Grandma might have already been gone. Back when she'd taken that turn for the worst. The thing outside was an unknown terror. But at least, the kitchen and the rice bin were the safest places in this house. That much I knew. Out in the courtyard, Grandma's footsteps gradually faded, disappearing into some distant room. A fragile thread of hope rose again in my chest. As long as we stayed hidden, this game had to end eventually. Didn't it? But the very next moment, a burst of frantic footsteps shattered that hope to piece. Garrett's face was twisted into something barely human. His massive hands seized us without mercy and wrenched us out of the rice bin. You little brats hiding in the rice bin this whole time. No wonder the kitchen door was wide open. And the old hag never came looking for you. I shielded River with one arm and grabbed Garrett's sleeve with the other, dropping my voice to a desperate whisper. Uncle Garrett, please. He's just a kid. It's too dangerous out there. I'm begging you, give us a chance to live. Garrett didn't flinch. He hurled us both to the ground. Our faces twisted in agony. But neither of us dared cry out. I knew I couldn't overpower Uncle Garrett. I grabbed fistfuls of his pant leg and begged Uncle Garrett. I'll leave right now. Just let my brother stay in the rice bin with you. Please. But he snatched the cleaver off the cutting board. Murder blazing in his eyes. That bin's barely big enough for one person. I'm cramped in there as it is. The old hag's coming out any second. Get lost or I'll kill you both. My bottom line was simple. I could go, but River had to stay. I'd even been prepared to dig in and threaten him with mutually assured destruction. But he was more ruthless and more inhuman than I'd imagined. Just as despair closed in, the mysterious voice spoke again. Stop wasting time with him. Find somewhere else to hide. The kitchen god's shift ends at sundown in 5 minutes. This kitchen won't be safe anymore. This is the one room that thing hasn't searched yet. Once it does, it'll tear this place apart. River and I froze in shock. But Uncle Garrett still looked nothing but impatient. As though he couldn't hear the voice at all. Before he could react, I'd already grabbed River's hand and bolted out of the kitchen. The courtyard had 4 rooms, north, south, east, west, but we've been sealed inside the rice bin the entire time. I had no idea which room Grandma had gone into. And if we stood in the open yard deliberating, we might run straight into her on her way out. My heart hammered up into my throat. I gritted my teeth and pulled River into the nearest door. The south room, the one used for the door, swung open to an empty room. Relief hit me so hard my knees nearly buckled. I flipped a large bamboo basket upside down over the 2 of us. And had barely settled into our hiding spot when footsteps echoed across the courtyard. The kitchen and the south room are good places for hide and seek. Time for a thorough look. I held River tight, silently begging that the mysterious voice had told the truth. If Grandma went to the kitchen first and found Uncle Garrett, River and I might still have a chance to slip out of the south room and find a new hiding place. Mercifully, a blood-curdling scream erupted from the kitchen next door. Mom, don't. It's me. Mom. After she found Uncle Garrett, the thing wearing Grandma's skin let out a satisfied sigh like a beast settling after a full meal. 3 left. Almost done. Almost. Uncle Garrett was gone. That left only me and River. But she'd said 3. Why was there 1 extra? There was no time to think it through. Every second counted. I threw the basket off us, grabbed River and ran for the east room, the bedroom where Grandma had lived for decades. The moment we pushed open the door, a large hand clamped over both our mouths from behind. Hope, River. Don't scream. It's me. The familiar voice hit us like a shockwave. Finding our father in the most dangerous moment of our lives was like drowning and catching hold of driftwood. Tears poured down our faces before we could stop them. But Grandma Callaway made no move to comfort us. Expression was all cold calculation and sharp authority. We don't have much time, so I'll make this quick. Every time that thing enters a room and catches someone, it leaves. It doesn't keep searching. That means if all 3 of us hide in the same room, even if one gets caught, the other 2 survive. Grandma's words slammed back into me. 3 left. She'd known all along that our father had snuck back. She'd already counted the extra person. The realization hit me like a bolt of lightning. I know who did this to Grandma. The one responsible is right here with us. No matter how hard we try, there's no escaping it. Dad squeezed my shoulders hard. Oh, I know I haven't been much of a father all these years. I never checked in on you and your brother. This is the first time I've come back, just to sneak a look at you 2 during the holidays. But you have to trust me completely. I will protect you, I promise. The panic that had been clawing at my chest finally eased. I nodded firmly. He leaned in close, his voice low and deliberate. I've watched your grandma hunt. She's old. She can't bend down. She never searches low. You and your brother will be safest under the altar table. By then, Grandma had already finished searching the south room. Her footsteps were heading our way. At Dad's signal, I pulled River under the altar table without a second thought. A red cloth hung all the way to the floor, hiding us completely. The room went so quiet. I could hear nothing but our hammering hearts and the slow shuffle of Grandma pushing the door open. Then the mysterious voice sighed. Your father told you to hide under the table, but he climbed on top of the wardrobe. He's using you, too, as decoys. That thing crawls along the ground, the the revelation hit me with the force of a physical blow. My own father had returned not to save us, but to offer his children as meat to a monster. I looked down at River's trembling hands and felt a protective rage ignite deep within my chest. There was no time for tears or despair. The scratching sound of Grandma's fingernails dragging against the wooden floorboards echoed from the hallway. She was crawling. The mysterious voice had spoken the absolute truth. That thing dragging itself toward us was a predator that hunted close to the earth. If we stayed beneath this altar table, we would be the first things it found. I grabbed River by the shoulders and pressed my lips to his ear. I pointed up toward the heavy oak wardrobe where our father hid in silence. River's eyes widened in confusion, but he trusted me implicitly. I slipped out from beneath the red velvet cloth of the altar table. I pulled River with me, our stocking feet making no sound against the cold floor. We pressed our backs against the wall directly behind the swinging door. The door creaked open with an agonizing slowness. A smell rolled into the room, thick and suffocating. It was the stench of stagnant water, rotting meat, and ancient soil. Then, a pale hand slapped onto the threshold. The fingers were impossibly long, the joints swollen and bruised purple. It dragged a body forward with jerky, mechanical movements. It was Grandma's face, but her jaw hung slack at a terrifying angle. Her eyes were completely white, devoid of pupils, rolling wildly in their sockets. She slithered across the floor like a massive, broken spider. Her head swiveled side to side, sniffing the air with violent inhalations. I clamped my hand over River's mouth and held my own breath until my lungs burned. The creature crawled directly toward the altar table where we had been hiding just seconds ago. It reached out a gnarled hand and ripped the red cloth away. A hollow, clicking sound emerged from its throat when it found nothing but empty shadows. Then it stopped moving entirely. The silence stretched so thin I thought it might snap and kill us all. It tilted its head back, pointing its nose toward the ceiling. It began to sniff the air drifting down from the top of the wardrobe. A low, guttural growl vibrated through the room. The creature began to climb the smooth wooden surface of the wardrobe without using any footholds. It defied gravity, scaling the vertical wood like an insect. Above us, my father let out a terrified gasp. He must have looked down and seen the white eyes of the creature staring right back up at him. His facade of calm authority shattered instantly. He screamed a long, desperate cry that tore through the stillness of the house. The creature lunged upward with terrifying speed. There was the sound of tearing fabric and a sickening crunch. My father thrashed and kicked against the top of the wardrobe, sending ancient dust raining down upon us. I knew this was our only window of opportunity. While the monster was occupied with its prey, we had to run. I yanked the bedroom door wide open and dragged River out into the courtyard. The night air was freezing, biting at our skin like icy needles. Thick fog had rolled over the ancestral home, obscuring the high brick walls that surrounded the property. I ran straight for the heavy iron gates at the front entrance. I grabbed the rusty handle and pulled with all the strength my starved body could muster. The metal did not budge an inch. I kicked the gate, ignoring the pain that shot up my leg. The mysterious voice drifted out from the mist, sounding deeply sorrowful. "You cannot leave until the game is over. This space is sealed by the resentment of the entity that claimed her body." I spun around, looking for the source of the sound. There was no one in the foggy courtyard, only the shadowy outlines of the 4 main rooms. "Who are you, and why are you helping us?" The voice sighed, a sound like autumn wind rustling through dry leaves. "I am the one who hid the sweet rice cakes in the top drawer for you. I am the one who chased the stray dogs away when they frightened River." My breath hitched in my throat as hot tears flooded my eyes. Grandma. It was truly her spirit, lingering helplessly while a demon wore her decaying flesh. "I am so sorry, my sweet children. I was too weak to fight off the sickness, and my empty shell invited something terrible inside. It is a scavenger spirit, a vile thing that feeds on human fear and blood ties to anchor itself to this world. It wants to consume our entire bloodline to make its possession permanent." River burst into quiet sobs, reaching his small hands out into the empty fog. "Grandma, please come back to us. I cannot return to that ruined vessel, my boy. My time in this realm is fading like a dying ember. But I will not let that parasite take my precious grandchildren." A heavy crash from the east room shattered the fragile moment of reunion. The wardrobe door smashed open, and my father stumbled out into the courtyard. He was bleeding heavily from a massive gouge across his shoulder. He looked wildly around the fog until his panicked eyes locked onto us. "Hope, you little wretched girl. You tricked me, you left me to die." He sprinted toward us, his face twisted in a mask of pure malice. He grabbed my arm and tried to throw me forcefully toward the bedroom door. He wanted to use me as a shield to buy himself more time to escape. I fought back, kicking at his shins and twisting violently against his grip. River rushed forward and bit hard into our father's thigh. My father howled in pain and slapped River across the face, sending my little brother tumbling to the frozen dirt. "Don't you dare touch him!" I screamed, finding a feral strength I never knew I possessed. I shoved my father backward just as the creature slithered out of the east room. It paused on the threshold, its white eyes locking onto the bleeding man. My father scrambled backward, pleading with the monster that wore his mother's face. "Mom, it's me, it's your son Wade. Take the kids, they have more life in them, they are young." The creature tilted its head, a horrifying grin stretching its mouth far beyond human limits. It let out a booming, metallic laugh that shook the windows of the courtyard. "Flesh of my flesh, rotten to the core." The creature pounced, crossing the distance in a single terrifying leap. It pinned my father to the ground, its elongated fingers digging deep into his chest. My father's screams were mercifully cut short as the creature dragged him back into the shadows of the bedroom. I did not wait to watch the rest of the gruesome spectacle. I pulled River to his feet, checking his cheek where a red mark was blossoming. "Are you okay, River?" He nodded bravely, though his whole body was shaking like a leaf in the wind. The voice of my grandmother echoed urgently in my mind. "Listen to me, Hope. It has consumed 3 souls now, and it is growing stronger. When it finishes with your father, it will be fast enough to hunt you down anywhere in this yard. There is only one way to destroy it. Tell me what to do, Grandma." "You must use the 5 grains from the kitchen. The kitchen god has left for the heavens to make his New Year report, so his divine protection over the room is gone. But the physical grains still hold the raw power of the earth and the sun. You must lure the creature back into the kitchen. You must trap it inside a circle of those sacred grains. If you seal it within the grains until the morning rooster crows, the first light of dawn will burn the vile spirit to ash." I understood the terrifying magnitude of the task. We had to go back to the very place where the nightmare had begun. We had to act as live bait to draw the monster into a trap. I grabbed River's hand and we sprinted across the dark courtyard toward the kitchen. The door hung off its hinges, destroyed by Uncle Garrett when he had violently thrown us out. The interior was pitch black, smelling faintly of old firewood and the lingering metallic tang of blood. I fumbled in the dark, my hands frantically searching the countertops. I found the heavy canvas sack where Grandma kept the mixture of rice, wheat, beans, millet, and sorghum. I dragged the heavy bag to the center of the kitchen floor. "River, take handfuls of this and help me pour it in a wide circle." We worked with frantic desperation, pouring thick lines of the mixed grains onto the stone tiles. We created a large ring right in the middle of the room, leaving a small gap near the back window. "We will hide behind the old wood stove in the corner. When it comes in to search for us, it will step inside the circle. Then I will run out and close the gap with the last of the grains." It was a dangerous plan, one that required perfect timing and absolute silence. We huddled behind the cold iron of the stove, gripping the remaining bag of grains tightly against my chest. From across the courtyard, the sickening sounds of consumption finally ceased. A horrifying silence settled over the house. Then came the voice, distorted and layered with the overlapping tones of my dead relatives. 2 left. The final 2. "Hide well, little ones. Grandma is coming." The dragging sound began again, but it was much faster now. It sounded like a massive serpent slithering swiftly over the frozen ground. The creature had absorbed the vitality of my aunt, uncles, cousin, and father. It no longer crawled with jerky weakness. It moved with terrifying, predatory grace. The slithering sound approached the kitchen doorway and stopped. I peered around the edge of the stove, my heart slamming against my ribs. The creature stood upright in the doorway. Its spine cracked and popped as it forced Grandma's old bones to support its enhanced strength. Its skin was flushed with a sickly, unnatural vitality. It stepped into the kitchen, its bare feet slapping wetly against the stone floor. It inhaled deeply, its white eyes scanning the darkness. It can smell our fear, I realized with sickening clarity. The creature took another step forward, crossing perfectly into the center of the unclosed grain circle. It turned its head slowly, locking its terrifying gaze directly on the corner where we hid. "Found you!" It shrieked, preparing to lunge. "Now!" I screamed, pushing River back against the wall. I threw myself forward, sliding across the dusty floor on my knees. The creature leaped at me, its clawed hands extended to tear me apart. I hurled the remaining contents of the canvas sack in a wide arc across the open gap in the circle. The heavy grains cascaded to the floor, completing the unbroken ring just as the creature's foot crossed the boundary. A blinding flash of golden light erupted from the scattered grains. The creature slammed into an invisible wall of energy and was hurled backward into the center of the circle. It let out a deafening, agonizing shriek as the sacred grains sizzled and popped upon contact with its foul aura. It thrashed wildly, throwing its body against the edges of the barrier. Every time its flesh neared the grain circle, a burst of searing heat forced it back. It clawed at its own face, tearing away patches of Grandma's skin in its frantic rage. "Let me out!" It roared with my father's voice, trying to break my resolve. "Hope, please, it hurts." I covered my ears, refusing to be swayed by the psychological torture. "You are not my family." I yelled back, my voice breaking but carrying the full weight of my defiant survival. "You are a parasite, and you are going to burn." The creature switched tactics, using Aunt Deirdre's mocking tone. "You think this flimsy trick will hold me until dawn? Look at the grains, little girl. They are already turning black." I looked down in horror and saw that she was right. The immense dark energy of the trapped demon was slowly rotting the sacred grains. The golden light was flickering, turning into a dull, corrupted gray. The barrier was weakening. We had to reinforce the circle, but the sack was completely empty. River tugged at my sleeve, his eyes wide and urgent. He pointed toward the massive ceramic rice bin where we had hidden at the very beginning of the night. "The bin still holds the pure rice Grandma harvested last autumn." I nodded, understanding his brilliant realization. While the demon battered against the fading barrier, I crawled toward the ceramic bin. I lifted the heavy wooden lid and plunged my hands into the cool, pristine white rice. I scooped up massive handfuls and ran back to the circle. I poured the fresh rice over the blackened, corrupted grains. A renewed burst of brilliant light shot upward, illuminating the entire kitchen. The demon shrieked in renewed agony, retreating to the exact center of the trap. River joined me, running back and forth with small handfuls of rice. We worked together, a flawless team driven by the sheer will to live. Every time a patch of the circle began to darken, we covered it with fresh purity. The demon hurled insults, threats, and pleas. It transformed its face into Bridget's, into Uncle Garrett's, into my father's. It tried everything to make us stop. But we did not falter. We stood our ground, guardians of our own lives. Hours bled away in a terrifying test of endurance. My hands were raw and bleeding from scraping the bottom of the ceramic bin. River's face was pale with exhaustion, but he never stopped moving. The demon was growing frantic, its movements chaotic and desperate. The air inside the kitchen grew heavy and oppressive, thick with the smell of burning rot. The creature realized it could not break our physical barrier. It began to gather all its dark energy into its core, preparing for one massive, explosive breach. It stopped thrashing and stood dead still in the center of the room. Its body began to swell, the stolen flesh stretching until it tore at the seams. A sickening purple light radiated from beneath its skin. "It is going to self-destruct to break the circle." Grandma's voice rang out in my mind, sounding incredibly weak but fiercely determined. "Brace yourselves, my brave children. I will shield you one last time." The creature threw its head back and unleashed a soundless shockwave of pure malice. The physical force of the blast tore through the room, sending pots and pans flying like shrapnel. The grain circle exploded violently, scattering the blackened seeds across the room. I grabbed River and threw my body over his, bracing for the lethal impact of the demon's claws. But the impact never came. A warm, glowing silhouette materialized in the space between us and the charging monster. It was an image of Grandma, not the wretched thing on the floor, but her true self. She looked young, radiant, and full of the boundless love she had always shown us. She opened her arms wide, embracing the horrific demon as it lunged forward. A blinding pillar of white light erupted from their collision, forcing me to squeeze my eyes shut. The sound of 1,000 glass panes shattering echoed through the courtyard. And then, from a distant farmhouse miles down the valley, a rooster crowed. The sharp, piercing sound cut through the supernatural silence like a blade. The first pale streaks of dawn crept over the high brick walls of the courtyard. The sunlight touched the kitchen window, casting long golden rays across the devastated room. I slowly opened my eyes, my body trembling from adrenaline and exhaustion. The demon was gone. The twisted, ruined husk of Grandma's body was gone. There was nothing left on the stone floor but a pile of fine, gray ash. The oppressive, suffocating atmosphere of the house had completely vanished. The air smelled clean and crisp, like the fresh dew on morning grass. I sat up slowly, pulling River tightly into my lap. We stared at the pile of ash, completely unable to process the magnitude of what we had survived. A gentle breeze blew through the broken doorway, scattering the ashes into the morning light. I heard a soft whisper rustle through my hair, warm and comforting. "Live well, my beautiful children. I will always be watching over you." Tears streamed down my face, but this time, they were tears of relief and profound gratitude. "Goodbye, Grandma," I whispered into the empty room. River rested his head against my shoulder and let out a long, exhausted sigh. We sat there in the ruined kitchen as the sun fully rose, banishing the shadows of the night. We were orphans now in the truest sense of the word. The family that had despised us was entirely gone. But we were not broken. We had survived the darkest night of our lives, bound together by courage and the lingering love of the only person who had ever cared for us. I stood up, holding River's hand firmly in mine. We walked out of the kitchen and into the bright, sunlit courtyard. The heavy iron gates at the front entrance, which had been locked tight by dark magic, now stood slightly ajar. The path to the outside world lay open before us. We did not look back at the cursed house as we walked through the gates. We stepped out onto the dirt road, letting the morning sun warm our cold skin. The horrific game of hide and seek was finally over. We were the ones who remained. And we were never going to hide again. And that wraps up today's story. Faced with a terrifying monster and their own ruthless relatives, these siblings finally made it out alive, fueled by pure courage and their unbreakable bond. It just goes to show that true love really does transcend life and death, becoming a guiding light in your darkest moments. Thanks so much for reading. I hope you guys enjoyed this wild ride, and I'll catch you in the next story.